What's up, YouTube? It's Joe Catapaglia sitting on the couch, making some money, investing in fractional real estate online. As usual, if you've been watching my channel or following Mogul, you're probably wondering why I've got a sold out property on my screen at the moment. Well, to be fair, I just want to, always telling you guys about everything I like about Mogul. They are still currently my favorite platform, despite what I'm going to talk about a little bit today. But they did something I don't really appreciate with this one that's sold out already. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and then I also want to share a couple of updates that happened on Lofty Assist, and then sort of go through the market on Lofty a little bit. So just a couple of different things working today, but because this one I think is too small to do its own video on. I think it's not the end of the world. This was a deal I passed on. I did a due diligence video on, and I did a little follow up on it as well. Brand new property, purpose built pad split property in Houston. One of the things that I mentioned when talking about this property is, I'm not sure how saleable a 9 bedroom, 9 bath home is. If it's not, if pad split were to be, if a co-living model became outlawed, or for any sort of other user in the future. And I think, this what I'm going to share with you, I think makes it even a little bit more stark as far as, so this is what I didn't really appreciate. This is the only picture of the outside of the property that we had. There were no listings up at the time, so we couldn't see the property itself. We didn't have a copy of the property inspection. You couldn't do street view. You couldn't walk in front of it. So we had no information about the physical characteristics of the property. And now we do. So this is the listing that they put up once it went pending, and I think they do it because in a lot of MLSs you have to actually have a listing in there in order to sell the property. Once you've sold the property, if you're an MLS member, you have to put that listing up, and then you get to then it gets added to your stats or whatnot. So it's not the end of the world, but this is a property. I mean, this just really solidifies my thoughts that you're not going to get an owner occupant to purchase this, right? This is, I mean, it does not look like a traditional home in any manner. This would be a pretty tough sell in a lot of markets. There are very, I was actually surprised at how limited the number of windows it appears to be. You can see on the back too, like they're just on one side. Maybe they have some on that side of the property. Um, Obviously they have to have at least enough for egress windows for all the bedrooms and everything. So I'm sure there's some on the sides. But I mean, this is just not an attractive property whatsoever, at least in my mind, right? I mean, some people might like this style. I've seen these and they're narrower and they kind of look a little bit better, but there's definitely a reason this is the only exterior photo they gave us, right? And I understand that Mogul is a company and they have to market their product, but I think it's really important to give us a realistic picture of what we're buying, right? We're investing in this where it's an investment club, we're investing together. I think without giving us, giving us not the full picture when it had to have been available. I mean, I actually think some of these pictures might be the same pictures that were used in the listing. Is that true? Let's look at that one. I thought that I saw that. Maybe not. Maybe not. Um, uh, hmm, I'm not sure. Looks very similar, but maybe it's not. That looks like it's a zoomed in version of that, actually. But regardless, I was a little disappointed when I saw the actual pictures of the home. Like, just show it to us, right? I mean, honestly, I don't think it changes this deal very much at all, right? It might change people's perception of it, but I think anytime that you're like, now that I see this, it's really clear that this was just a intentional, trying to give us a better picture of the property. I mean, basically, it's letting me know they know this is ugly, right? They know this is an ugly property. I think that affects resale. It's interesting to be able to see this property that it's next door to too. One thing that I was pleased to see here is they have a ton of parking, right? Like parking's definitely not an issue here. It was one of the things that I wasn't able to really identify on my own, because when we do the street view, that street just happened to not be full. So anyway, this is something I'd like them to do a little bit better on. I think that full transparency is really important. If we're buying this behemoth of a home, right, that doesn't, it's really just like barracks. I want to know that, especially because the inside looks so nice. I kind of assumed, and I mean, maybe, maybe it's just my personal preference, right? Maybe most people don't think this is as ugly as it strikes me as being, but I think they probably did, or else we would have gotten a picture of it and not just this very zoomed in picture right here, right? Um, I don't know. So I think that that's important. If I'm curious if people agree with me, right? If this bothers anybody else, if you bought some of this property and you're like, ugh, I didn't realize that's what I was buying, put it in the comments or jump in our Discord. Oh, no, which reminds me, please like and subscribe. In the description to this video, I've got a link to a Discord that's set up. Now there's about 125 or 130 of us in there. There's a lot of active discussions going on every day about several platforms, Mogul being one of them, Arrived, Lofty, Ground Floor. Those are the ones that are most active, but some Sol's Lot, some Collab. Every once in a while, people talk about Arc 7, but please feel free, jump in the description to this video, find that link, join our Discord, and you can be part of that discussion. In addition to that, in that description, I have links to all of the places where I'm currently investing in fractional real estate. If you use any of those links, please do your own due diligence on the platforms and the properties. Just because I'm invested on them doesn't mean that they're good deals. And this is one of the things I'm going to talk about too. This is a good segue into platform risk, right? I think that you really want to make sure the platform is solid and the properties themselves. And it's why I haven't put a ton of money into any one of them yet. And so anyway, I don't often have much criticism for Mogul, so seems they did something that I didn't feel great about. I figured I'd share it, and I'm curious what other people think as well. Okay, now on to Lofty Assist. If you don't know what this is a tool made by a third party to help you find info on Lofty properties. Fairly certain he's going to roll out a similar product. I don't know if it's going to be part of this or a separate product, but I'm pretty sure he's going to roll something out for some of the other platforms in the future. I think it's a great tool, and I like to look at this on a regular basis. One of the things, so I like to use this state of the Lofty marketplace. This is just one small piece of it. It's actually my favorite thing. I check this every day because I like to see how Lofty's doing. I have gone back and forth quite a bit about, do I want to leave money on there? Is it is it a platform that is, there's just really great discounts on deals, but it worries me. The long-term viability of the platform really worries me. A lot of the individual decision-making things that happen and the way that they get addressed worry me a lot. And so I feel like this is a great way to check in on the health of the platform. One of the things I look at every single day is this average token price. If you don't know about Lofty, every single token starts at $50. So their average token being $33.59. And this is the average of just the ones that are traded, like in their liquidity pools. It doesn't include ones that don't have a liquidity pool for one reason or another. This is like, so it only picks up about 156 of maybe close to 200 properties now. I don't know, 170 something. I mean, this is the scariest thing, right? So on average, people have lost more than 32% of the value of their tokens, across the board. So if you just looked at everybody's investment, ignoring any income they've received to date, the value of their tokens have gone down. The value of their investment have gone, and that's ignoring fees too, which fees make up a huge part, right? Like you need to have, if you're using market orders, you need to have about a 14% increase in price from the purchase to the sale in order to break even. That covers fees and the difference between the price. The fact that when you sell, you're paying a percent on the higher portion. So anyway, so I mean, if this looks like you're underwater, you're even further, significantly further than you are if you bought at 50 and are down. You're close to down 50% after fees at a 33% token price. So that's one of the things I like to look at every day. It's he's got a chart of it. Let me see where that chart is. And it just, it's been moving down. And his data only goes so far back because it's just when he created the platform and started recording this. Unfortunately, there's not an easy way. It doesn't go back to the beginning of Lofty. Um, but yeah, this number just keeps moving down. Now, low token prices at a certain point are what get me to just jump in and buy some of this stuff. But at the same time, if people just keep losing, such a huge amount when they buy these at $50, people are going to stop buying the new issuance. Just like, people will stop watching my videos if they keep being choppy. Like if you saw what just happened, my thing froze, but we went there and it got fixed, and I just tried to ignore it. So anyway, yeah, that price just continuing to go down. I think it's worrisome for the platform overall because it's not I mean, it's just amazing destruction of value to have that's occurred on the platform. And people used to always say, "Oh, it's the legacy properties. It's the legacy properties." Well, no. Now we've seen a whole bunch of co-ownership properties just tank in price. We've seen, all the ones that Austin brought to the platform, or at least some of the ones that Austin brought to the platform. Some of them are doing okay. We've seen some of the co-ownership properties that Cal brought on there, and then just a bunch of other random ones. I think the Canyon Road one in Utah. I'm sure there's more. The Hearn is now in the $30. Oh, which reminds me, if you've been looking at this, the total market cap, and you saw this huge pop, all this was the addition of the Hearn liquidity pool. Um, to the total market cap, right? So it got added, so all of a sudden there's more market cap. And what's amazing is with the sell-offs, on that property and then plenty of others, it's down, even to right around the level that it was before. So all of that new capitalization just got wiped out already. Um, it's really sort of incredible to just see how over and over again we're seeing those prices just tank. But so I want to mention a couple of the new things. Oh, the trading volume, you can see we've continually had more sellers than buyers, although volume's gone down a little bit. I think that's normal. I think we normally see a lot of volume around the 15th, whenever the updates come out, and then it sort of trails off. So it'll be interesting to see, one, if we stick with so many more sellers than buyers, and then also what happens um, next lofty day when we have updates. I did want to mention, yeah, I like to look at this pretty regularly, right? Seeing sells to buys, and actually, this is one of the strongest ones trailing 7 days I've seen in a while, which is kind of scary, right? Because it's still a pretty big difference, but I think it's indicative of as prices get, to a certain low level, um, people like me come in and say, geez, that's so discounted. We could sell it in real life. Let me just buy some more tokens. And then there's also people that, at a certain point, if you're taking such a loss, like, why even sell? Let me wait for it to come back a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see if this is just a pause, or if, we're going to see some stronger selling again. But to the new feature. So this is one that just came out, which I think is really amazing. He's doing this daily wallet creation. I want to share what this is. So this is tracking how many new wallets, Lofty wallets, are created every day. So it's a way to look at, like, okay, new users coming to the platform, and of the new wallets that are created, how many are actually funded. And so one of the things I wanted to point out is, just because there's more of these that are funded in the past than currently, part of that is just because more and more of the ones that were created in the past will be funded over time. Um, but regardless of that, I think it's really interesting to see, one, how many are just created each day, but also, like, how many are created that never, or that don't get funded. And over time, we'll get to see this a little bit better. But it is, I know I've sent a lot of people there, especially, I mean, less and less over time, but early on, I was sharing Lofty with a lot of people. And a lot of people show up, and then it's hard to figure out exactly what the property's worth because of the weird debt model. And every single one is different and there's not any uniformity and you have to read through the votes. And okay, so a lot of people that were attracted to the idea of investing in fractional real estate decide that they're just not going to do it because the user interface isn't great or the overall experience isn't great. And so I think you really see that in like just the relationship of how many create a wallet versus how many actually fund. To be perfectly honest, I'm surprised they get this many new users every day that are funding wallets with everything that goes on. I kind of wonder if some of it is, I know some users have created additional wallets for their business or for their wives to buy more, I don't know. I mean, but I guess there's also just some organic new users showing up. And I guess they're better. They're probably better off than people who were a new user 2 years ago or 3 years ago, right? Maybe. I don't know. It's tough to know. I mean, there are better discounts to be had today, but I really am not any more confident that a new $50 property today is any better, is any more likely to succeed than any of the ones that showed up on the platform a year or two ago. It's scary to say, but anyway, because they don't have the desire or ability to, control the property that. Well, I mean, I say ability. They could filter the properties that come on, but I don't think they actually have the technical, like the knowledge to be able to know what's a good deal and what's not at this point to allow it on. That's what I mean by ability. But they could actually filter deals that get listed, but they choose not to, and they think that that's part of their model. So that's up to them. But it is a big part of what makes me worry that like long term, if your average deal is a trash deal that people lose money on, how viable is that as a product, right? If on average everything I bought, if 4 out of every 10 things I bought on eBay were worthless, because I'm losing 40% of value or 30%, three out of every 10, because I'm losing that much value. But it's different than that, right? Because it's on average. But it's what's interesting is like if you actually just look at how many winners there are very few winners relative to the total number of listings. Anyway, and then this is another thing. This is not quite as new, but this wasn't up last time I went over this lofty review or lofty assist mark, the state of the market. So I just wanted to share this. This is, I think, really fantastic, right? It shows of all the properties. Again, I think doing that 156 properties. Is that right? 105, 130. Yeah, I think so. I could have added them over there. That would have been easier. Yeah, so it's the all the ones that are tracking how many, what the yield is, how many fall into the distribution. So remember, like almost all of them show up to the platform with a 20% yield or close to it. Now, further back in time, it was probably less so. But so, okay, 85 out of the 156, so well more than half, are currently zero yield. Another 20 are yielding less than 5%. So 2/3 of the properties on the platform are yielding something between 0 and 5%, and with with more than half of the total being zero. Now, some of those, it doesn't mean that they're not performing at all. Some of those have tenants and are rebuilding their operating reserve. Um, and then you've got even another big chunk that's below 10%. If you talk to a lot of the lofty users, they're always trying to target this 20%. Like this is the magic number. There's 4 properties on the platform with that right now. And honestly, I don't believe a 20% yield is a sustainable yield to expect from properties over time, right? Like I actually think 10, maybe a little bit lower than 10, I think 8 to 15 is probably like ideal. So maybe you're picking up some here and maybe um, and then all of these I think are decent. But like, okay, it's slightly more than 10% of the and like even let's say you take half of these, like then you're at 20% of the properties on the platform actually giving you a decent yield. Um, and then the other 80% performing, you know, pretty poorly. So this is going to be a really interesting thing to track over time. how much of how many of these properties are tied up with Yom issues, right? I know there's quite a few of them, uh, but even if you said all of those, I mean, then you still only have that only accounts for about half of these, right? And I know not all of the Yom ones are at zero. There's at least there's at least one or two that has some yield already. So, the ones that were transferred from them. So I don't know. I love this new tool, right? To be able to look at this, and this is going to be an interesting thing to track. Hopefully, we see this move this way a little bit, but it's one of the things I'm paying a lot of attention to because as I sell tokens, do I want to buy more discounted tokens, or do I want, like this week or yesterday, the day before, I sold some of my higher, some of the ones where the price popped a little bit, made a little bit of profit. Um, and I did reinvest the money into other tokens that I think are just really, really uh, deep discount and just should make me money in the long run. Um, not, that discount won't matter if the platform goes under, right? Like, and I know a lot of people have talked about, oh, well, I've got a contingency plan for that, and we would just, a lot of people have a lot of great ideas about how they would address that. Um, but I think it would be if we're lucky, years, but in order to actually liquidate properties and get money back. And then I'm sure it would be pennies on the dollar, right? And so, that's why I like to keep looking into what's the state of the marketplace, right? How's it doing today? If this number just keeps going down, uh, it's pretty worrisome, right? Like at a certain point, total market cap, total value locked in liquidity pools, right? Like how much money is being held on the USDC side. Oh, and tokens, pools, USDC and tokens. Now, I don't know. I'm not even sure how much I love this because a lot of that money is just trapped, right? Like sometimes, if you have to lose 40% of your money to pull it out, I'm not sure how useful that is. Uh, Same thing with the staked over time. Like I mean, it's an interesting data point, but I think that the overall market cap is what's really telling us like how much people are selling off. Like if you're willing to, the people that are selling out a herd right now for $30, $25. I mean, those ones. That's really surprising to me. I'm gonna have to dig into that property and see if there's something I'm missing on there. Some of them that have been uh, in my mind, I thought were decent properties. I mean, we're just seeing all kinds of them sell off. The Garden Gate ones, I mean, we're starting to see sell offs from that just because of all the votes being put up and whatnot. So anyway, just wanted to share those two new things going on there. Talk a little bit about this. I'm gonna probably do this maybe a couple times a month where I go over what the state of this marketplace is, go through the info on here because I look at it every day and I think it's useful to think about. Um, I am curious again, put in the comments if you if this worries you, right? If the platform risk, if it becomes more worrisome as you see more and more properties fail. And the same could be said for any of the platforms. We have good data on this one right now, right? Because a lot of this got pulled from the blockchain. At the moment, I don't really have a lot of worry about Mogul because my average property is doing so well on here. But over time that could change. The same thing is true for any of the other platforms, right? I mean, I think that I don't think that there aren't any others where you see this same level of value destruction. Except, I mean, you saw it on Lambda, but now no, I don't think anybody's putting new money on Lambda these days. And that's what I worry, right? Like, is this the next Lambda now, or are they going to be able to turn this around somehow? Um, I have a lot of suggestions on how to do that. I don't think anybody cares about them, but hopefully they have. Hopefully they just do. Hopefully some of this stuff is a big wake up call for them. Seeing a lot of money leave the platform, seeing more sellers than buyers every day for a lot of days, or not, maybe not every single day, because these are all 7 day averages, rolling averages. So at least every week, right? Or the average across any 7 day period for a lot of these days. Um, Hopefully that's a wake up call. I don't really know. I don't know. Maybe they don't really look at this stuff very often. Maybe they don't look at like how many people come to the platform and don't actually buy anything. I'm really not sure. Um, but it is, I'd like for this platform to work because there are a lot of things to like about it, but it is, um, you know, I guess the main thing I like about it though is the discount. So, I talk about that all the time, right? It's a bit of a double-edged sword. Like that's why I'm here. But the same thing, like once, now that we have the Arrive secondary market, we're starting to see some discounts there. Um, I'm curious to see one, if they get to this same level, right? Like, are you going to see these start to trade at these huge discounts? But remember, on their discounts are stated from what they think the current valuation is, not the original sale price. If you actually look at the shares on there, the even with some of the bigger discounts, most of them are still in the money, right? They're still higher than what they originally IPO'd for. Um, I think that's a real important distinction. I don't know that I made it when I was going through that the other day. But yeah, so I mean these are not just discounts from what the value of the property should be today. These are discounts from what the token was brought to the platform for. Now, arguably maybe a lot of them were brought for inflated prices anyway. I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to rehash all that. Just wanted to share those new features. So yeah, if you don't mind, one, if the mogul thing bugs you at all, let me know because I'm super curious about that. And then, yeah, how worried does this info make you about the future of Lofty? Do you think, they're just going to be fine? Or, what's the number that this would have to get to before you just really panic? Um, I don't know what it is for me. I mean, it just keeps moving down and it's terrifying, um, because it doesn't. I mean, I know they make money on fees whether you're buying or selling, but at a certain point, it seems like the business model just stops working, right? You stop attracting new sellers, you stop attracting new investors, all that. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Until next time, gonna just keep making mistakes so that you don't have to.